Hello everybody, my name is Aiden, and today it is time to talk about the stage being set for the NBA Finals. We now know the teams that are in the NBA Finals, and all they have to do, easier said than done of course, is to win 4 games this series, and they will be crowned NBA champions for 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, all the teams in the NBA fight for this moment, fight for this spot, fight for this opportunity to be known as the best team in the NBA. And whether you like it or not, these two teams have fought their way, have fought like hell, have been in positions where they didn't expect to be in to make it to this stage, to make it to the NBA Finals. Who is going to walk away from the NBA Finals as the NBA champions, and who's going to walk away from the NBA Finals with bitterness in their hearts and a chance, of a lifetime gone missing, and probably a heart full of regret as well. Let's talk about it in this video. But before we get any further, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know who you have in the NBA Finals. Will it be a one-way demolition job from the Western Conference team? We'll talk about it. Or do the underdogs give the fight of a lifetime and overachieve? Maybe it's not even overachieving. Maybe it's just showing what they're all about, and they win the NBA championship. You know how it goes. We'll talk about the East and the West, the winners and the losers, what is next for each respective team. And then from there, we will also talk about who I think will win the NBA championship. I want to start East because I think we started West last time. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. And basically, it was the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. And as we speak, today was the final game of that series as the Pacers walk away with a 4-2 victory in the series, winning it in 6 games and advancing to the NBA Finals. I mean, this was a series that I was very intrigued in because, let's be honest, there's probably 2 teams we didn't expect to be there, and it's 2 teams that fought like hell to stay there. New York had a never give up attitude. Yes, I find it crazy that they lost both games at home, and to be honest, the whole statistic with these 2 teams are insane. The fact that both of them are really good away teams, you saw it in the series. It was truly an unbelievable type of playoff series. Like, I didn't expect that to happen. I know both teams are good away, but to have the Pacers win both games in New York and to have New York win game 3 at the Pacers is ridiculous. I mean, it's a very opposite type of series than what you would come to know from any playoff series. But nonetheless, they pulled through and they walked away against the Knicks with victories. And they won the series because of it. Look, I think the Pacers ball movement was the real big factor in this. I mean, I look at New York and they've obviously got a very talented team, but I don't necessarily think their team is filled with the ball movement that the Pacers have. And I think that's where things really got interesting. Not to mention, Pascal Siakam walks away with, I guess, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP or whatever it's called. And he was really, really good in this series as well. And the Knicks had no answer for them. But yes, a very well-rounded team the Indiana Pacers are. I picked the Knicks to win. Obviously, well-roundedness and the balance of the Indiana Pacers was enough. And their grit and determination in New York. You know how hard it is to win in New York? There's literally a lot of teams that dream to play in Madison Square Garden, to dream to play in New York, and they don't live up to the hype. But the Indiana Pacers won both games away from home, and I think this is the second year in a row they've beaten the Knicks in the playoffs. It's an outstanding accomplishment, and ultimately, there are certain players on that Pacers team that didn't deliver, but at the end of the day, their team is so well balanced that they were able to fight for each other. And that is what a team is all about. And that's why, when it is the NBA Finals, and when it does come round again, I would give the Pacers a fighting chance in the NBA Finals. Because of what they do for each other, how they play for each other, how they share the ball, and have complete trust in each other. It is a true team basketball game with the Indiana Pacers. What's next for New York? Well, they have to go back to the drawing board here because there are still certain issues with New York that, to me, begs a lot of questions. They need to find ways to be impactful when Jalen Brunson is not on the floor. And for me, that is going to be easier said than done because he brings such a massive threat to the New York Knicks and to every team in the NBA. But what happens when he's off the floor? It's very similar to what Nikola Jokic is with Denver. When Nikola Jokic is off the floor, the Denver Nuggets are the worst team in the NBA. The Knicks are obviously not that. They're not the worst team in the NBA without Brunson on the floor, but they don't have the best offensive schemes. And there's a lot of runs given because of that, because they don't seem to find a way to score the ball that well with Brunson off the floor. They need to find more offensive talent in their team to help lift their capabilities when Brunson is off the floor, because the man can't play 48 minutes every game. It's just not sustainable. And you've seen with previous teams, injuries are a factor. If you're going to, especially with Thibodeau, if you're going to play them for a ridiculous amount of minutes, you know, that could be a sign of disaster there. And also, this is difficult as well because you've got now this combination, and I think this was a big combination of failure with the Knicks, where they couldn't figure out who to play with Karl-Anthony Towns and guys like Mitchell Robinson, offense versus defense. You know, Karl-Anthony Towns is an amazing offensive player, did really, really good things in this series, but defensively was dreadful, and you know that has to be mentioned. And guys like Mitchell Robinson, I mean, you saw it in the series as well. He played really, really good defensively, was able to move against guards, block some shots. I think he hurt his ankle at some point in the series as well. But the guy, they did a Hacker Robertson in this series. He's not an offensive threat at all, and the balance just isn't there with New York. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of figure out an answer for them, but they're talented enough. They really are. And maybe the Pacers are just that bogey team for them, but they've got to go back to the drawing board, and they really need to assess certain things. They've got a good enough squad to be back in this same situation next season, I would say, but chances are limited, and they do have to make improvements. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about the West because it was a demolition job over there. OKC brutally beats the Minnesota Timberwolves in a crazy fashion. I think the game that the Minnesota Timberwolves won was an absolute beatdown. But other than that, they got dealt with comfortably. Game 5 was destruction. And OKC, very similar to the Pacers, prove exactly what team basketball is all about. Fight for each other, defend for each other, score for each other, get around each other. After every game, they're always with each other. They're always having good vibes. And at the end of the day, they're a team that you could truly believe will stand tall against anyone. And this game, these series in the Western Conference prove that. When I look at Minnesota, talent is clearly there, but the way the OKC smothered them in this series, it's scary. I don't think I've seen that type of defense in a long time. They say defense wins championships. I would say in previous years, it's not necessarily been the defense that wins the championships. I really think it is the offense. They live and die by the three from Boston. Obviously, you got teams like the Warriors and Steph Curry and just their dynamic offense. Yes, they had good defensive schemes also, but it's not the defense that I think wins them those championships. When I look at OKC, yes, Shea's an MVP, but man, they're also a very good three-point shooting team in a nutshell also, but I think it's their defense that really carries them in these type of series. And it was, honestly, it's a joy to watch them. It really is. It's really fun to watch the OKC Thunder. And I think they have a chance to win their first championship, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's their first. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's their first. And I'm excited to see this series because of it. The Pacers, a team no one expected to be there. The Timberwolves, out. I should have said that. But the OKC Thunder in there. I think everyone expected them to be there because of how dominant they were in the regular season. But, wow. I'm so intrigued. Crowning a new NBA champion is always a good feeling as well. But let's talk about what's next for the Timberwolves. I know Anthony Edwards said he's going to work his ass off in the summer. No one's going to work harder than him and whatnot. Unfortunately, this is a team game, and it's not just about one person. Anthony Edwards could very well be one of the faces of the league and could be one of the best players in the world next season. We know that. We know his potential. He's only 23. We know what he can bring to the table. We know what Minnesota can bring to the table. But the way that I see it, you're going to need more than Anthony Edwards taking a big leap to get a realistic chance. You saw OKC and how they play. It's not, as much as Shea's the MVP of the league, it's not just Shea. When I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, They shut down Anthony Edwards and no one else stepped up to the plate consistently. It's a team game, ladies and gentlemen. People have to step up for each other. And the harsh reality is, I just don't think the Timberwolves did that. And that's why they're eliminated. And that's why they got crushed. Because no one stepped up. No one did. Including Anthony Edwards in certain games. So that's where I think their mistakes lie. And look, I think one thing you can take away positively from the Minnesota Timberwolves, they traded Karl-Anthony Towns and they made it back to the Western Conference Finals. That to me is the positive they take away from the season. A trade that almost everybody thought they lost. They showed it wasn't as bad as what they made. It wasn't as bad of a trade as perceived to be. But they're still going to need a lot more, in my opinion. They need to make some moves and they need to have, I would say, a more team structured plan going forward. You know, I think everybody needs to learn from the OKC Thunder. I'm not speaking just based on the Timberwolves. I think everybody has to look at the OKC Thunder and try to steal things from their game to implement into their own. That's what, at the end of the day, it's a copycat league. And I think every team has to do that. The Timberwolves will have to do that also. With that being said, the NBA final stage set. Who do I think is going to walk away with, I guess, the victory? Well, I look at the Pacers and their ball movement is undeniable. They play really fast, really quick, and they are a team that can pose a threat on that side of the ball offensively. But when I look at the OKC Thunder, I mean, even Anthony Edwards says this as well. They have like a college-based defense. They're flying around everywhere. I think OKC is going to match that passing movement and ball movement from the Pacers with their defensive movement and their ability to run the floor on the defensive end with the OKC Thunder. I think it's going to be offense versus defense. I think it's going to be who can counteract each other the most. Will the Pacers prove to be too quick for the OKC Thunder? Will OKC's quickness on defense be the detriment to the Pacers, which will lead them to many turnovers and many forced errors and all these things as the OKC Thunder, I keep saying the Timberwolves, I'm sorry, as the OKC Thunder steamrolls through them. Look, I'd love another underdog story from the Pacers. There's nothing more I want than to see Halliburton win an NBA championship after being called overrated and literally just laughing his ass off the entire offseason. I mean, that would be hysterical. I would have such a great time looking at Halliburton just laughing at everybody, just pointing and laughing at everyone. You know, he has that type of attitude as well. He likes a good joke. And I think he'd be laughing at everyone. But yeah, I would love that, but I can't go against the favorites of the league, the OKC Thunder. I think they're going to steamroll this series. I could see maybe 6. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to give Pacers again. I said I'd give them the fighting chance. I think their fighting chance is 6 games. I think they could do it. But man, I think OKC's got this. And congratulations to whoever wins the NBA championship. I'll be sure to check in after the NBA championship is won, talk about how amazing that team is and how they proved everybody wrong and all that great stuff. But we got a series to play now, ladies and gentlemen. Let the series begin. Let the NBA finals begin. Let's kick on. Let's see who wins that championship. Thank you for watching. A lot of mistakes in this video. Again, I have the Timberwolves on my mind, as you can see, because I'm very intrigued to see what they do next. And I really like the Timberwolves as well. But yeah, this is OKC's time. This is the Pacers' time. We give respect to each team. Mistakes aside, those two teams are fighting for the championship. May the best team win. See you in the next video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.